show to show in my video to letting me see what happened. And during that night, so 1 hour and 30 minutes after I put the game cameras on the tree, we went, like I told you before, we went dinner, then we went to the car, lay down to bed. Vera went to sleep, but I stood awake. And I stood awake for at least 2 hours. So I was awakened at this time. And I remember seeing the light lighting up all the show to show in my video to letting me see what happened. And during that night, so 1 hour and 30 minutes after I put the game cameras on the tree, we went, like I told you before, we went dinner, then we went to the car, lay down to bed. Vera went to sleep, but I stood awake. And I stood awake for at least 2 hours. So I was awakened at this time. And I remember seeing the light lighting up all the ceiling, all the roof of the car inside. But by the time I thought, there's someone coming. Those can be the high beams of a car coming up the mountain. And I never saw that light again, so it was for just a brief seconds. And I thought, probably no one was coming, or it was coming, but then it turned back. But I was convinced it was a car, and the high beams of a car, and the glare of the high beams lighting up that area of the forest, because the light inside the car was not that bright, like it was, like someone was using the torch near the car, or like a car was a couple of feet away near my car. I thought it was very far away, so it was just a hint of a light lightening up the ceiling and the roof of the car. And everything went right that night. I don't remember anything. I slept well. Vera, when she saw the footage on the other morning, she was with her eyes like this big, like me. And we talked about it. We tried.
All right. Hey, for those who will hear this, this is, of course, the Lord of O.R.D, and I have a special guest, Sasquatch SW Europe. I don't know if I pronounced your name right, bro. It's Hui.
Hui. Yeah, you can double the R Hui. And UI.
I can't do the role. Hui. Anyways, yeah. Bro, it's good. It's nice to finally get to meet you. I've been paying attention
nice
for a little bit. And I like some of what you have to say. And I think you might have actually got me. Maybe I might reach out to Judy Carl. We have a lot in common, me and her. Anyways, so synchronicity is such as it is. The one place I spent the most time on in Western Europe, of all places, was the place that you were from, Lisbon.
Yeah.
So I spent most of my time in the other side of the river in Almada, but it's nice to say, took the ferry quite a bit and into Lisbon as well. Spent a lot of time in Algarve as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. So, is it still beautiful?
Yeah,
do you guys still have the
California
trolleys?
Place.
Yes. Do you guys still have the trolleys that run up and down the cobble streets, the narrow streets, and
yes, we still have the trolleys, the yellow ones in Lisboa.
Yeah, Lisboa. That's right, Lisboa.
In Lisbon, we call it Lisboa, but
it's interesting. Here we are on opposite sides of the Atlantic, and sure enough, Sasquatch seems to bring us from all different parts of the world together, isn't it? And the last person I ever thought I'd ever be talking to about Sasquatch would be someone from Lisboa. In a million years, I never thought that would happen. And then I discovered you.
I feel the same.
Yeah, I discovered you. I think it was through Sasquatch Confessions, my friend JT. And shout out to JT for Sasquatch Confessions and the Squatch Gang there out in British Columbia. Because it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be talking and doing this interview. Hui, which I cannot say.
Yeah, it's perfect. You just roll the R and UI, Rui. Yeah, not a common name.
It's an awesome name, though. So,
Okay.
Portugal, of all why you? Okay, I have to ask this question. Why would a guy from Portugal be the last thing I would ever think a guy from Portugal would be interested in Sasquatch? Why you?
So since my childhood, there were two things that I loved that I do interact a lot. It was nature. So since my childhood, I was going into the woods, learning how to identify all the birds, all the tracks with the animals on the ground. And later on my adolescence, I started to interest about the supernatural and everything about legends and myths, ghosts. So everything that you could say that it's supernatural. And cryptozoology, like Loch Ness monster and Sasquatch, Bigfoot, it's also the same. So it was a passion of mine since my adolescence. So I studied it online by the videos and the documentaries in the TV about Bigfoot on US and the Pacific coast mainly. So by that time, I never thought that I would be studying it in Europe, mainly in Portugal. And I always thought that someday I would like to go to Northern BC, to Washington State, Oregon, to all those places to try to find Sasquatch also.
Right.
So that's how I started online.
You got a habituation site. This is interesting. In Portugal.
Yeah, that's in the north of Portugal.
It's a beautiful country too. So, anyways, I guess we should do this for a second here and get people to be able to see you a little bit better, and myself. I should probably add myself there. Sorry about this. It's early in the morning for me. I've been up all night. It's a long story, but I know done like shows. Like I had 3 dozen shows with MK Davis, and we talked on and off about what this Patterson film, of course, he's famous for, and I've known for 6 years that there was more going on than what the official story is, and I finally found a very obscure YouTube channel that I don't even know if he even knows how to access it, and nobody knows about it, and nothing's been posted on there for over 13 years, and I found it. Whew. Yep. Anyways, there's a lot more going on that happened there, so let's talk about you. So we'll talk about that later if you want. But so Portugal, of all places, Portugal, and then and it's interesting that you brought up like the supernatural, because anybody who's done this for a while, it becomes very self-evident that it's a big part of the story, isn't it? And so when you're doing these habituation sites, how long have you been doing this? I should ask. How long have you been doing the research?
On the ground for almost 2 years. That's when I realized that I had something that I had to put my feet on the ground and try to solve the enigma. That's for about 2 years. But I research Sasquatch for more than 10, 15 years from now. I research basic knowledge,
Sure. That's a long time. So, that's
all started with that video. That footage that you showed now with the UFO, UAP, orb, something that I that I get on that footage, on that camera, on that wildlife camera.
That's very interesting footage. If you guys missed it, go back to the beginning of this recording later on and check it out, because that's the intro of this live, and it is most interesting of images and what you filmed there. That the UFO is so fascinating because it's got a diamond shape, right? You notice that it's got the diamond shape, but then when it turns into this horizontal plane, it almost looks like a flying saucer, right? But it's sitting there and it's hovering there for a little bit, and then it shoots off and arches off, and then boom, a flash of light. I think it's a really awesome, very nice capture, is what it is. Regardless of
and I only saw the second point of light, the second source of light. There's another shape, UFO shaped thing that takes a different path from the ground up, and I only noticed that with the colors, messing with the editing, with the chroma key and all of that, because on the video I hadn't noticed.
It's just fascinating how you just...
when you add the filters, you can see there's another object that comes from the ground and takes a slightly different path to the sky.
You can see it. Yes, it's like the bottom of it, little.
But it seems like it's flat. No, you see that hexagonal shape because it turns like this. You see?
Is that fascinating?
It's very strange.
I wonder how big it was. Do you have any idea how far away it was from the filming?
I was exactly on the place where it went down. He never touched the floor, so he was hovering over the floor, like a few inches, very few inches, and it was from the camera like 10 feet at most. 10 feet at most. No, not even that. 7 feet from the camera. So it was. If you compare the sizes, it was small. Like.
Well, that's what I find fascinating about it. Sorry for that. What I find fascinating about that is we're trying to. Sorry about the echo. We're trying to get this. There's technical issues going on. But anyways, if I stay away from my mic far enough, then I think it will help. Then it's so small, and it reminds me of it. You guys have the tradition of the fairies and the that kind of thing, right? And I just wonder if that's where, so, you know what I'm talking about, those little small fairy ones. You ever thought about something like that? I mean, not to say that it actually was a fairy, but maybe that's what people got the idea.
It UFO, but it could be anything. It could be an orb. It could be a being of light. We simply don't know. It could be ball lightning. I really don't know what it is, what it was.
I think it's quite fascinating, and you know, it's how close were your trees around there?
From me or from the object?
From the object. And the camera.
So the camera was placed on the tree. So from the camera, the object, I think the object was on the floor when it went down. Like I told you before, like 9 feet, 7 to 9 feet most. Not more than that.
So it wasn't very big. And I find
it wasn't very big. Like I said to you, it was like the size of my hand, probably.
Yeah. And so, you know,
apparently.
About the size of an orb. And you know, what's interesting is from my own personal research, and then the people I've talked to who are into orbs, like the orb whisperer from Australia, he brought it up himself. I already figured out there was a connection between Sasquatch and the trees on my own research. I didn't find out later that there's people out there to recognize as well. But the orb whisperer from Australia said the orbs come from the trees.
Yeah, I have the same feeling that there's something there. I don't know if they come from the trees, if they simply have like a synergy connection, like a bond, something that. But there are plenty of people telling that, and I have other experiences that tell me that also, that there's something in the trees, that it's odd also and connected to this phenomena.
Now, many of the First Nations people in North America, they they recognize the trees, and they talk, and I call the trees like the neurons of the earth, right? They connect the underworld, the middle world, the plane in which we walk on, and the upper world is the atmosphere, right? The underworld going all the way down to the, like the water table and that kind of stuff. And for my filming and research, spirits travel up and down those trees, and I just whether we want to call them spirits or entities or whatever we want to call them, they just use it as a placeholder because, based on our own limited knowledge and understanding, and but see, from my own research, it's definitely the case, and other people are saying the same thing in other parts of the world. So I think you're onto something. You fell onto something, and I think it'd be fascinating if you keep pursuing that line of thinking in your own area. Fatima is first famous, of course, from where you're at in Portugal, and there's a tree connected to that whole story of Fatima. Did you look into that?
Yeah, like an olive tree that is known to be there on the site of the apparition where the Lady of Fatima appeared.
Or
Yeah.
came out of, or an orb at least came out of. They have documentation. There's actually video of a tree, at least appearing coming out of the tree.
Above the olive tree, yes.
Yeah.
So trees since the beginning have a very mythical place in all these stories. Yes, for sure. And like you were saying, trees are like the antennas of the planet. They have the neurons could be the roots, like all those, the network of roots with all the fungus, all the mycelia, and all those strange things that we even biology can't understand, but it's grasping now. Biologists are now realizing that there's something going on beneath the earth, between the roots of the trees and the roots of the fungus, that's the mycelia, and they exchange information like electrical inputs, they exchange food, exchange a lot of things that we are now understanding that's going on, and that's amazing. There's a lot on this planet that we have to learn. We are like kindergartens
we know very
still
little.
in this universe and on this planet.
Yeah, we know very little, don't we, of the
Yeah,
actual
we know.
universe. And if it's true that 99% of the whole universe is made of plasma, oh my gosh, sorry about this.
Dark matter.
Yeah, so it's and trees are a big part of this whole scenario. Obviously, I'm trying to get this right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm half asleep, so I'm not a morning owl or morning person at all. I'm a night owl. So
no. So I've been both. Now I'm more like a morning guy. I like to wake up early, but I've been the other way around also. I know.
So we have this tree here. Where is this taken? Where's this image taken at?
That photos is in the center of France, more or less. I don't know the province. I don't remember. Haute-Vienne, something like that. I think it's Haute-Vienne province in France. So that's a very big forest that it's in some parts of the forest it's full of structures like that one.
Right, and it's in France, people. It's not in British Columbia. It's not in where I'm at in Northwest Ohio, although there's one actually 350 yards due east of me from here. And it's in France. And we were told otherwise by the experts here in North America. So I appreciate the fact that you actually were willing to do this and to film this and to bring this out to people. I don't know if you're, how big is the Bigfoot or Sasquatch community in Europe?
In the UK, it's bigger because they are looking into the phenomena, and there are a lot of more reports, at least known in UK. But in continental Europe, the community is very, very small. Quite a few people in France that I know, less in Spain, some in Germany, and all around Europe, but like one or two, three people per country that I think of, and almost no one is researching.
So yeah, this is very important that you're. Thank you for doing it and bringing this to our attention. The fact that this stuff is happening in the continental Europe, Western Europe. I mean, if it wasn't for guys like you, we would be still thinking that this is only happening in our neck of the woods. But clearly, that's not the case. Um, so, what do you think is actually doing this? What are your hypotheses, or what do you speculate? I
So
mean,
I think structures and Bigfoot, it's still speculation. I think there is nothing, at least there is no proof that they do that, they do the structures, but we all think they do.
you see, folks,
Uh,
I'm not the only person saying this. Thank you.
that's
Thank you
one
for
of the
saying
big
that.
problems, that someday someone will find an answer for that and find some proof that they do these structures. But you can speculate about other beings, that if you think Bigfoot is real, why not other elemental beings that are on another realm, another layer of the universe, that it's right here next to us, and they can go in and go out and do these kind of things. But although I think that these ones are done by Bigfoot, because our experience, and I can call it paranormal experience, between me and my wife Vera, it's always been related with Sasquatch-like beings, and all the structures and all the things that we have been around, all the mind speak, all of that is being from Sasquatch, nothing from fairies or other things like that, you know. So I still think that the structures are done by Bigfoot. Why? I really don't know. I can guess, but yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of
that's
guessing.
what I think.
In fact, there's a thing that you in that end of your lecture, the 101 lecture on Sasquatch. Let me see what's it say here. So so what in South Sasquatch? Oh no, so what is it? Everything basically what you said is everything in Sasquatch research is confusing. You can't just say you definitely got it pinned down, can we? I mean, it's like there's
Yeah.
always a new twist, a new turn, there's something else that is confounding that doesn't add up, right? So, um,
What I usually
uh,
say, it's apart from that video of the Patterson Gimli and the footprints that you can connect with that video, it's the only evidence. Because if it wasn't for that footage, you didn't even could say that all the tracks are done by Bigfoot. But that video supposedly proves that wrong. That it proves that Sasquatch is doing those footprints, those hominid footprints. But besides the footprints and besides the anatomical shape of the footprint, we don't know anything that is palpable, you know, that is
and then
in
there's
this reality.
the four-toed footprints, and then there's the six-toed footprints, and that we like in my area. There's a lot of times people. I'm close to Lake Erie in Northwest Ohio, and on the border of Michigan, so we get a lot of six-toed footprints. And my friends JT and LT, the Sasquatch Confessions, in the summer they filmed a uh, four-toed
Hmm.
footprint. So, and that's a Sasquatch country, right? So, I mean, that's where they get the name from. Is from British Columbia, Sasquatch,
Yeah.
and so
So there can be some anomalies on the footprint. So if the little finger is on the, it's how do I say it? It's underneath the fourth finger. It sometimes can press on the floor like a four-toed footprint, but there could be also some individuals that have missing toes, that have one more toe, because there's 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 people that have that born with six fingers on the hands, so that's probably normal with them also. But three-toed, it's very strange. Three-toed, it reminds me of a bird. Birds have three toes on the front,
but
not mammals.
the state close to me In Pennsylvania, they find a lot of three-toed footprints. So I don't.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
In the state next to my state, Pennsylvania,
Oh,
they find a lot of three-toed footprints. What's going on? I'm gonna shout out a few people. Killer Crown, the JT from Sasquatch Conventions. Thank you for joining, and John P. Adventures. Thank you for the shout out. So, just thank you. And yeah, so it's not nothing. It's not like a nice, neat package here. You know what I mean? It doesn't all fit in just like perfectly as much as a lot of people want it. A lot of us want it to be, right? And you start doing research, and then oh my gosh, it's just taking all sorts of weird places, and challenge a lot of your worldview and your perspective and things. So, and your like religion and science and everything else. So, I just find it. How big do you think that tree structure is? This is in France, people. This is not in the United States or in Canada. How big do you think that is? How do you think tall it is?
10 feet it was, but some of the main trunks were even higher.
Hold on a second. My apology. You keep on talking and then.
Yeah, so the main trunks that supported all of the other branches and trunks were even higher than 10 feet, and it was quite big. One of the biggest ones that I have ever found are in France, but in Spain I have found some big ones, and Portugal also. But I think mainly France and Spain was where I found the bigger ones.
Yeah, I mean it's a really nice teepee structure, and a lot of us here in the States or in Canada be very proud to see something like this. So, good jobs, kudos. Now, this is a different one here.
Yeah.
So, was this in France as well, or is this somewhere else?
That one is near the border. It's in Spain still, but it's very near the border at the place where I visited, because it's one of the best sightings in Europe because it has a photo. I guess you probably have seen that video. It's called Irun, the place. And it's called the Yeti of Irun because, yeah, that photo. That was taken by a guy with his cell phone while doing a hiking with his daughter. And it's one of the best photos from Europe and UK. I don't know anyone better than this. So I decided to go there and to prove to myself first how big was that and how could that be, because most people were saying the same thing. It was a guy hiking, it was a guy on a gorilla suit, and I just found out that no one in a gorilla suit can go there. Even I with the trekking gear and everything, it was very difficult to go down there. So no gorilla suit is going down there.
It's extremely steep. I mean, you can tell it's steep. You can even see the rock slide and everything. Why would anybody? You'd be out of your. Plus, what do you think the temperature was?
The what? The temperature?
Yeah, I mean outdoors.
The sighting, I think it was in April or May. So near the sea, it's not so cold. It's more mild, but like 15 degrees Celsius. I don't know about Fahrenheit. 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. So not that cold. But it's mountain. There it's mountain, so it's cold. It gets cold very quick.
Yeah, right. So I just have a hard time believing sort of that dumb to walk around in a suit or there. I mean, you could, I guess, just for an image. So that would be about 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Just to let people know. So.
Yeah.
So.
But that time of the year, but it gets colder. It gets snow in the winter. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's the Atlantic part of the Pyrenees, where the Pyrenees mountains start, and then they end on the other side of Spain near the Mediterranean. So that's the Atlantic part of the Pyrenees.
So you can see the arms for sure.
very long
Uh,
arms.
you see the legs. It's and you see the broad shoulders. Um, I, a human being, one of us, it doesn't look. It proportionally doesn't look right.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the arms are longer than humans because if you can see that he's slightly curved and still he gets his arm and his hand past his knee. So it's a very long forearm. At least the forearm is very long, longer than any human.
So, is there any other reports that you have heard of people seeing what we would call a Sasquatch or something similar to that? I've heard of reports. Ivan Sanderson's and John A. Keel in particular, they talk about a hairy man or a short hairy man, something smaller than ours, that they have reports in the British Isles and in Western Europe. Have you heard anything about them?
Yeah, the literature and most people say that the wild man in Europe that is more like human shaped than Bigfoot, it's smaller. But I've been on that place that you see the photo, and I measured it to be like 9 to 10 feet tall. For sure, it was 9, 10 feet tall. So it's quite big. It's not the size of a human. It's gigantic
Yeah, it's
because
still massive.
I was there. I climbed down to the place where it is, and I took photos of me comparing it with the photo of the creature. So it was no hiker. It could not be anyone, not even a only some probably NBA players are so high. So I don't know if they can reach 9 feet, 10 feet tall. It's like something of a world record, Guinness World Record for humans, and they generally
Yeah.
are not broad shoulders. They are people with deficiencies in growing, with very slender limbs, people that usually don't live long. They have a condition, not that thing. That thing was huge.
Who took this? Who's this? A footprint? Who took it?
That's a footprint. And it has an
What?
interesting story because that footprint, it's almost like 10 years. And when I photographed that footprint, I look at it and I got very confused. But I never thought about Sasquatch by that time. But I took the photo. I took the photo because I usually everything that's odd and footprints. I took photos and I put them in external disks, and I have lots of data. So when I started researching Sasquatch, I remembered that footprint. So I think it's a Sasquatch footprint. You can see the dog footprints on the side, even comparing, and even if you think it's a very small dog, it's still a very big footprint, like 15-inch, 14-inch, not smaller than a 14-inch footprint. I measured it as being 15-inch. And I remember by the time that I put my boot just beside that footprint, and even the boot it was not bigger. It was slightly smaller than that footprint.
Okay. It almost looks like it could possibly be two footprints, a smaller one inside a bigger one, or it could be
Yeah, you
quick.
can see on the top near the big finger. There's a footprint of uh, there's a print of a dog paw, but a medium to a large size dog that it put his paw over the big finger.
Right here.
But it was definitely a human footprint,
Okay.
humanish, humanoid, hominid,
Sure.
whatever you want to call it.
So what's up with the angel hair?
You never heard about angel hair?
I've heard it, but I mean, what? Why?
Okay.
What's going on with you filming it? What's
It
going on?
was by that time because on those days I woke up very early in the morning. It was in autumn, and I have seen a sighting of a orb, a metallic shining orb near that place by a few weeks earlier. So I was researching, and I started to look around, and I started to see those angel hairs that look like big huge sized cobwebs from spiders, but you can tell that they are not from spiders. They are huge. They look like cotton. And I was researching them. I took some samples that never got tested, but they were going to be tested, but then something came up, and another guy took other sample. I don't know what they found out really, because that's another story. And by that time, when I was looking for those cobwebs in the same place that is a very plain fields near Lisbon, I found that footprint on the same place that I was finding the cobwebs. That
Really?
people tell that those cobwebs came from UFOs, or they came down, they came from the sky in strange conditions with very clear skies and with some sightings of strange phenomena in the sky.
Like Fatima. That's part of this legend, isn't it?
I think so. There's some of those angel hairs came down, and in the Bible, I think that there's a passage where Moses. I don't really know the story because I'm not very Catholic, and I don't pay too much attention to the Bible. But when Moses took all these people to a plain and he went to the mountains to see God, then God provided something like a food source that went down from the sky in the shape of black, of white, cotton like food. So something like that. I don't know if they are edible. I didn't try it.
In the Bible, it's called manna.
Manna is exactly that's
Yeah.
it.
By the way, you bring up in your let me go back there real fast so people know about it. I think it's worth listening to. I enjoyed it. Where is it at? Where is it? Where are you at? Where are you at? Was it the beginning? Where's the Sasquatch?
Which one?
Your presentation that you did, a Sasquatch 101.
Oh, it's those green, yeah, more to the bottom. That one, 2 hours, and it's long.
Yeah,
and the sound it's not so good, but yeah.
I've listened to all the way through twice. So the thing is, when you talk about the Bible and you talk about because you say you don't agree with the Nephilim theory, right? And I'm with you. By the way, I am one of those guys that one time was a really fanatical Christian, right? So I studied my Bible, right? The true story about Sasquatch, and I'm not making this up. You can ask JT there or Sasquatch Confessions, and I have a teaching on my channel. It's about Esau and Jacob, and it's in Genesis chapter 25 and 27. And Esau is the perfect description of a Sasquatch. He's the hairy man, the wild man. He's covered from his head to his toes and hair, and he's hairy like a goat. A wild goat. I'm not making it up.
I never heard about that. I have someone.
Of course you didn't, because I don't understand how. But here's the thing: I discovered I'm not even the first one to figure this out.
Sorry.
So, like John A. Keel, that's a guy you should look into. And I don't know if you looked into Ivan Sanderson in his work. He does both things. It's very zoological stuff, but he also understood the high strangeness about Sasquatch. And this is a guy who went all over the world, Central America, South America, Asia, Malaysia, on and on it goes. And so, but they realized that the story that's most closely resembles Sasquatch is not Genesis 6 and the Nephilim. It has nothing to. Nephilim has actually zero to do with Sasquatch. But the story of Esau, see, Jacob he was plain, like you and I, fair skinned, who lived in tents, whereas Esau was hairy like a goat from head to his toes. And he lived out, in the wilds, in the plains, and he was a great hunter. And it's a fascinating parable and metaphoric language that they hid it within the religion, but it reveals clearly, to me at least, and to trailblazers that hardly anybody knows about in the Bigfoot community or the cryptid community, like John A. Keel, and that's what I was talking about. There was this interaction, this relationship between us and these hairy hominids, right, Sasquatch, and what happened and how we kind of things we through our own deception and tricking them and our basically there's a war that's going on for millennia between us and them. The interesting thing, that part of the story is though, in the end it flips, and the Sasquatch or Esau will get his blessings. But in the story, it's about how Jacob tricks Esau, steals his birthright and his blessing, right, from his father. And if you can take away the religious nonsense, because that's what it is, right? It's just pure nonsense. But if you could just look through the metaphorical messages that are inside it, you see clearly that's what it's talking about. When it comes to the Nephilim thing, it has absolutely nothing to do, and it's. I knew, like my friend, he was an acquaintance of mine. I knew Scott Carper, may rest in peace, and his take on the Nephilim is, I don't know where he got that, except he just didn't bother to read the rest of the book, particularly Genesis, because that's where the Genesis is pretty much about. So so I don't know how you get the Nephilim out of it. And when you really read the story about the Nephilim, it's about God was angry with who? Not with angels or anybody else. Who was angry with men. And the Nephilim were the mighty men of old, the demigods. You know what I mean? Of our old, mythology, right? These were mighty men of renown, right? And he said, don't take my word for it. Actually study it and take out the religious stuff. And you say, holy crap, he's right. You know what I mean? So, and but that's something for another day. But I find that fascinating. You brought that up. It's like, yeah, we have so much on the same page.
And you brought up, not only the Bible speaks about a Sasquatch being, also the ancient Sanskrit texts of the Vedas and in India talk about the monkey people, and also the Gilgamesh in ancient Mesopotamia. There was, I think it was King Gilgamesh that had like a friend that was all airy and that lived on the woods, but they were friends and they helped each other. So there's a lot of stories from ancient past, not only from the Bible, lots of stories that can depict airy man and Sasquatch.
Yeah, and then we have like JT, if you're still there, first, I don't know if you are or not, but in my last interview I did with Bernie as well. At the very end, he shows a plate from Ecuador of a plate of a human, a male soldier, holding the head of Sasquatch. A golden plate.
I saw that.
Oh, did you see that part? So
I see that part. I think it was in your video. I never have seen that artifact before.
Yeah, it was mine. It was from the last live I did, right, from Friday. So I mean, there's tradition of interacting with hairy, like human-like people. And by the way, in the story of Esau and Jacob, it makes it very clear that there's two different types of peoples and nations of peoples. It clearly describes them as peoples. And then in the First Nations lore, this says the same thing. There are two types of people, right? Sasquatch is a people. And so, no, you just to let you know, like, and I got the book right here, right? This is the Sasquatch people, right? By Kiwani.
Kiwani Left Writers, yeah. I never read it, but
he's not the first one to say that Bigfoot or Sasquatch was altered or interdimensional beings. The First Nations people here have been saying that all along.
Yeah, but Kiwani was one of the first Westerners that started to speak about it.
Yeah, but 60 years earlier, guys like John A. Keel and Ivan Sanderson were saying the same thing.
Okay.
So he's not
Oh,
original.
I didn't knew about that. Sorry, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just letting you know that I'm not trying. He's not original in that. I'm not knocking him because he's more accurate about what's going on than the Milgrams of the world. So you know what I mean? The flesh and blood group, and I'm not
Hmm.
knocking them either. It just is what it is, right? So so where was that with this? So that's, by the way, you should definitely watch the his this guy who definitely did his homework and prepared himself. And then I like what you said. That 2 years ago, you said, you know what, it's time for me to go outside. Because you know what, that's what for me too. I'm like this guy that's really obsessive or compulsive about something, right? I need to know it, right? So if
Yeah.
I get like 2017, I wanted to know the truth about Bigfoot. Actually, my intention was to prove that it was all BS and it was a government psyop, right? And only to
Also
find out
valid.
6 months later, actually having sightings and having encounters which is equivalent of Sasquatch in my own area. Although we have something that's called Ohio grassman, and then our thing is a little different than Sasquatch out west, right? It's still big and massive. It just has a different type of face. It's like a cross between a dog man and a Sasquatch. It's kind of weird, but
Yeah. Oh.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe there's some variation. In the US, it's a very big country, so for sure there is some variation. But regarding names, I can tell you that in short in not so big areas like Spain, you have I've told you before, the Pyrenean Mountains, and every valley on the Pyrenees has a different name for the phenomena. So some people, in some areas, like in the Basque country, it's like the Bazajaun, but in other valleys, in other regions of Spain, they have different names.
now, is there a book that we could find these names? Has anybody compiled these
It's
names?
very difficult because that's nothing online besides Bazajaun. That's the name that they get in the Basque country. But alongside the Pyrenees, those names you have to go to the places to talk to people, to do some research on the field, but
My
different kind
brother,
of research.
I think you have a mission. Why don't you do it, man?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So I'm
I
picking up
document.
me and Vera. She has she has gone to the university to study history and archaeology. That's her area. She research on the oral traditions and all of those names. We are gathering all of that information.
Do you
That
have a
it's
lot?
more prevalent in Spain and in the Pyrenees than in Portugal. Portugal, the phenomena, it's like forgotten because of Catholic Church. It's my opinion.
Is that in Portugal? You guys have, is that
Yeah, that's
like
in
code?
Portugal. That's the that's on the place where I research uh, in Portugal. That, by the way, it's the only place that I have found teepees. So in Portugal, you cannot go into the woods, and in the north you have very big woodlands, and you cannot see teepees everywhere. And you see also scouts, you see people doing picnics, and
Oh
they
my
don't.
gosh, look at that.
Yeah, that's very strange. They do like some type of bridges, but they are not functional bridge, because if you put a foot on that, you will get hurt, because yeah, I call that place the little village, because it's there are many teepees in such a small place that it looks like a small village of teepees.
Now, do you have any kind of tradition of people building this kind of stuff,
No,
like
not nothing.
witchcraft or sorcery or that kind of thing, or
Nothing.
uh,
There's nothing
animism?
in tradition in Portugal that does that.
That is such a and look at they actually built a a square in the middle of the creek, and then
Yeah, that square is very strange. They actually have built two squares, but they are changing every time. Like every 2 weeks, those are changing. The bridges, the location. and those teepees are
So what?
they are getting down, then they put them up again. It's amazing.
So do you find any footprints, human or otherwise, in this area? Have you found
I
any
found a
footprints
I found a footprint this year, early this year, with
in
a,
this location?
12, 12-inch. No, it's like I don't know in miles, but in kilometers, it's like 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers to the northwest of that site.
That's fascinating.
And I cast it. I cast that footprint.
So I mean, everywhere. I mean, Long Island Bigfoot, Mike, 30, 40 foot teepee structures. Here in Portugal, they got these little structures, but they're not practical for a Bigfoot to live in.
Yeah.
So,
No,
or
for
for
sure they are
shelter.
not for them to get shelter or something like that. It's
I,
more like
are
interaction with us, or or just to do that interaction, or I have thought that it could be their young that are trying to interact and do those kind of things,
well, look at
but
that.
not
Look
for
at that.
the.
Look at that. So, I wonder if this it has something to do with some kind of like spiritual kind of rite or a sacred place for them, and maybe it's some form of like a religious
Probably.
art for them. Like, you know what I mean? Or for some reason they come to certain spots and they
I
take.
have a few guesses that some people that some places are energetic or something like that, or if you imagine an hypothesis that they are on another side of the veil in another parallel reality. Imagine that it places right their village, the place where they are living. It's exactly the same place, but on the other side.
And look what they did.
Do I?
They stripped the bark and wrapped it around there.
Yeah, because that's eucalyptus. That's very easy to strip the bark, and they usually they have done a knot with that. Very strange. It's not securing anything. It's just there, the knot.
So that's about 10 feet tall. So it's a lot taller than it.
I think it's about the same high as the other one in France, but it's the volume. It's much less. Yes, and
And
the trunks that were used are much thinner.
it, it's the middle of anybody's here or will hear this. This is the middle of Portugal, people. By the way, most people probably don't even know where Portugal is. Ironically enough, because in the States we don't get that great of an education. So Portugal is like across the channel from England. So it's not somewhere in South America or something like that or something. The reason I'm saying that because when I first met my ex-wife, I met her in England, right in Bury St Edmunds, in the middle of Sussex, and she's telling me about Portugal, and I go, and this is after I lived in England for a year and a half, and I go, "Where's Portugal?" She goes, "It's just across the canal, the channel." And I'm like, "Well, I'm
Yeah,
from America. I
one
mean, we
hour
don't work."
flight, one and a half hour flight from London.
I know. I felt so stupid afterwards. Like, shoot, man. So, anyways, but it's a magical place. It's a wonderful place. Portugal is, and that highway from Lisbon over to Algarve is one hell of a ride. I know it. That drive, I was scared to death when I drove that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Well, this is 20 years ago, and I mean,
Oh,
it's Portuguese driving. I mean, it's like the most. They say in Western Europe, it's the most dangerous place to drive. Is in
yeah. You
Portugal.
have to try. You have to try Egypt or India, and then you get another perspective of driving. Yeah, we are a lot more civilized now.
Yeah, okay. I was just like, well, that was pretty wild. Actually, after halfway there, I said, I handed the wheel over to my wife, and I said, "You need to drive. I am not used to this kind of driving. First of all, we have wider streets, and people usually
Yeah,
pull over, and it's like I'm just constantly pulling over there on the highway there because everyone's so aggressive, and instead of going around you, they expect you to pull over, get out of the way, and I'm like, dude, I'm already going like 10 miles over the speed limit,
Yeah, but we do a lot of speeding. Yeah,
I know
here.
you do. It's great. So this is really a magical place too, and this is how close. This is in Portugal. This is really close to Lisbon. You said.
It's around the center area of Portugal. I have to drive more than 1 hour to go there.
Oh, that's not too bad of a drive from Portugal. That's not bad at all. That's really nice. It's really special, man. Awesome. I'm glad I got to meet you. Hope you come back again. We do a few more shows and talk about this. And I think that just I think you could. Can you speak Polish? Because I know a lot of you, like my ex-wife, could speak 7 different languages fluently, and she was involved with the East Timorese Action Network and was in the
Hmm.
UN and all that. So I don't know how. Can you speak Polish?
No, not Polish. Spanish. I can understand French, just a few words. I like the vocabulary, and I speak English, Spanish, Portuguese. Yeah, not many more. A little bit of Italian, but it's because it's very similar to Spanish also.
Right, right. We got to find.
Not Polish.
There's a researcher in Ireland, Damien, but he's Polish, and so they've got a language barrier. We got to find someone who can translate because he's finding stuff just like this in Ireland.
Yeah, in the UK and Ireland and Scotland, I think there are a lot. You cannot go to a forest and don't find any teepees. That's very strange and a lot different from Portugal. Completely the opposite in Portugal. You go into the forest and you don't find teepees anywhere besides that place.
Well, I noticed that the best place to find structures, at least in my area, is actually the edge of the forest. And in fact, you know what the best place of all is? Is in the middle of my town. I'm not making it up. It's in the middle
Yeah,
of
yeah,
my
yeah.
town.
I believe you.
I live in I'm on the borderline between country and farmland and suburbs. So I'm right on the edge. I mean, I can literally see farm field if I look to the north. If I go out the side street there, and so I mean, I uh, I I have found massive tree structures in the middle of my town and then just in the wooded areas, and like it seems like I'm the only person who knows that they exist. So, but you're in, Portugal is
They,
not.
they
It's
put those
it's a
teepees
heavy.
in front of us sometimes.
What's that?
They like to put those teepees in front of us, just in front of us, where in the places that we go, we do some picnics. So many of those teepees are close to places where people go and stay in the woods. And that's why I'm thinking, and that's why so many researchers, I think that those teepees are done to interact with us,
I,
to
I
to to make us realize that there's something about them for people that knows what's around, because some people go there and they don't have a who built them. They think it was a kid or that the
do you
other
ever feel
hypothesis.
sometimes they're for you personally?
It could be, probably, yeah.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that so few of us. It's getting more popular. People are starting to understand it, but we're still a very small segment of society, especially you in Portugal. I mean, you're like one in probably every 10,000 to know that anything like this even exists in Portugal. So I mean, in Portugal, I mean, last time I was there was only 11 million people. So I mean, I doubt if there's 100 people in all of Portugal who know this is going on, right? So, and then there's a thing
I
called
think there are some
synchronicity.
people, but I haven't met anyone. But I think that there are some people around the area that know about the structures. At least they think that something is going on with the structures that could be from elementals or something like that. But
Or the,
if they think it's Sasquatch related, I don't have sure.
so
But
that's
I don't ever met those people. I would like to.
So there's a park bench right there
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
that's near a picnic site near the forest. That's in another place of that mountain where people go and do their picnics, stay for a while, and they and that area they usually made those teepees regularly. So those ones that you're seeing are not there, but those trunks are used to do and to build other teepees that are already there on other places, on other trees, but on that same place, constantly rebuilding.
So what I think, in my theory is that Sasquatch interacts with the elementals and other spirits to help create these things. And then there's people that are involved with this too, right? There are human beings involved with this as well, right? And
Yeah,
I think that it has something to do with animism and certain types of the people. Okay, like in North America, I know that it was a tradition for the First Nation people to have places like this where they would have these places where they would, because you know what they do, they when they travel, instead of taking their say their teepees with them, they would leave the major poles in certain areas, right? And you know what I mean. So instead of taking them off, hundreds of miles and and traveling, they would leave them there, right? And so some of it's old, and I think some of it might be something that has to do with um, the spirits that they come back and they redo it because it was such a big part of their tradition and the way of life, right? And it's almost like maybe a form of time travel, something like that, or somehow the spirit realm that there's some ways, or maybe parallel universes where they kind of collide and they show up. I mean, there's multiple things going on here. There's not one single answer to this, which drives me nuts. And this is how this is why I call my other channel. I call myself the Fortean digital shaman, because, and I don't know about Charles. You know Charles Fort, but it's like, and that's another person you should definitely read. Charles Fort. He talks about this strange stuff that was going on 100 years ago. He got a book called The Book of the Damned, right? And it has not any religious context, because the damned are you and I, people who wake up to this reality, and we try to share this. People, especially 100 years ago. Oh my gosh, it's bad enough as now, but 100 years ago, you try to talk to people about this stuff. The people were brutal to you, very abusive, and very. You were not going to be. People were not going to listen to you. They're going to make fun of you.
And another century back, you could be killed by saying something like that. Mostly women. They
Right.
they would say that they were witches.
Exactly. Or then you're practicing witchcraft or sorcery. Do you have like dolmens in Portugal? I know there's supposed to be a lot of dolmens in Portugal.
Dolmens or domes?
Dolmens. This right here.
Dolmens from megalith.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, we have quite a few megaliths in Portugal.
Now, are these
not as big as Stonehenge, not as big as Stonehenge, but we have quite a few that are very big. The Cromlech of Almendres is a very big area with lots of big stones that could depict, that archaeologists say that they could depict some kind of a calendar, but we really don't know.
Is this hieroglyph from Portugal?
No. I'm still to this date to try to understand where it is, because I could not find the reference and the bibliography of that. But I think it could be somewhere in Africa. Because of the depictions, it seems like very similar to ones that are found in Africa.
So we, on the right-hand side, we have the skinny people with their bow and arrows. On the other side, we have big, hairy people. Almost looks
big, hairy people. Yeah.
Like there was a war going on between the plain-skinned Jacob people, like the story Esau and Jacob, and Esau, and then there. Where in Africa was this? Where did you find those?
I really don't remember where I found it on the web, but I don't know the place. I'm still to this date trying to find the exact place where that depiction is, but I think I will find it someday.
Yeah, that's pretty special. If that is,
I think that kind of depictions that shows a lot more than archaeologists and historians want to tell you or want to believe, they hide, and they hide the locations, they hide the photos on the web. They don't like that kind of depictions that you can see, something that they do not tell you, or they don't want to believe. I think some of them, they don't want to believe. They just want to stick to the normal science story that they are telling on universities, and that's it.
This is awesome, man. Yes, you made some great finds. Great. How big is your? How many people besides your wife that work with you on this? Just you and your wife, or is it you
Yeah, just
primary and
me
your
and
wife?
Vera. Yeah,
So
yeah.
just the two of you.
In the beginning, it was only me. I was not sharing a lot with her, but it was like in the first 2 months. Then we started to act like a team, because some of the strange stuff started to happen with her also. So
Now tell us about
it's
the strange stuff. What's the strange stuff that you're experiencing? Now you've been talking about. You said mind speak and other things. Tell us about that,
yeah,
please.
mind speak have started to happen a few months after we started to research this, and it was the most intense. We had the most intense episodes when we went to the Pyrenees, and there at the place, uh, in the first days, Vera was uh, felt like someone was mind speaking to them. So mind speak, it could be very different from many people. So you could be still, and something happens on your head that it's like a phrase, something that you feel strange, that you are thinking about that. Why I'm thinking about this? Why? Because that it was put on your mind. But they can also put like an image of some sort, and that's more what happens with me, because somehow I'm just like a rock to mind speak with words and hearing voices. So I must train it, and I found that mostly women are more able to speak and to get mind speak language between Sasquatch or other beings. So Vera got, while being in the field in the Pyrenees, she got a few messages that were that were told to her. We even um, we also have during those messages the Sasquatch, that it's a very old Sasquatch that lives on that valley, on that Pyrenees, and she knows that because she saw it on a vision that she had, and she saw it many times from now, so a few times. So she knows how it looks, and he even told her name that I will not share, because it's personal. Maybe in the future I will share the name of the Sasquatch that he names it himself. But some strange things like this, mostly mind speak, mostly what Mike Patterson also says, that they mess with the electric equipment that we have, and they messed a lot with our equipment. There's a video that I have on my channel showing that we are doing like a meditation. I usually do near the teepees to in trying to research other theories, more like conscious and something like that. I usually do some meditation near the teepees, and I record the audio of the meditation and trying to see if there something happens. And in a 15 meditation, it happened 2 times in 2 consecutive months. They within a 15-minute audio, I don't know how they managed to do it, but they copy and they merge 2 audios from those 15 minutes, and they get an audio that I don't know how they have done it, from 2 weeks earlier, when me and Vera were speaking with some friends on a different area, and they picked that audio that I did not record inside my car. and they merge it with the other audio of our meditation site. So it's when we heard that, when we arrived home and we saw that instead of 15 minutes we had 40 something minutes of audio, I could not believe it, and I still cannot still cannot understand how they did it, because the recorder was not on that day. It cannot record like that, and I really don't know how they did it. But it's like they went into the past, they record that particular conversation, and they copied it and merged it with the audio of that meditation from that day. And they have done that with another audio, with another situation in France that I also have in one of my videos. I don't recall the title, but something very strange. They can manipulate. Manipulate our gear, our electronics easy. I don't know why. I don't know how, but they can.
I have even stranger stories than that. So I've had them open up my trunk of my car. I've had them two of my hubcaps in my car. They actually rotated them on top of the pins. The air valves are. And if it wasn't for my son saying, "Dad, your tires look really low," I wouldn't even noticed it. And it wasn't from the tire shop. It wasn't from a human being. And that happened right after a UFO sighting too, in February of this year. They're talking about those. They're making fun of all those like Biden and the Chinese weather balloons and all that kind of stuff, right? You heard about that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, by the way, that stuff it was real, but it wasn't Chinese but weather balloons though. I mean, I had one literally a huge. It was amazing. Most amazing things. Orange orbish like UFO float over my. I will never forget it because I was doing an interview with Tex from Front Porch, who does Bigfoot research. Right, I was doing an interview in an hour, and it happened as I'm looking out my kitchen window, and this streak of light it's almost like melting aluminum or in a slag, or you were seeing like melted like lead, and it's just in the sky, and it lit up all the tops of the houses and the trees, and so there was stuff going on for real. And I think I mean they were trying to say it was Chinese weather balloons, but something else was going on, right? And they're trying to distract people as usual. So, but anyways, and so I mean, I know
most people believe that.
In fact, you talk about electronics. My computer's not set to reboot or anything like that, and it's 6 a.m. This is one reason why I'm really tired. I went to bed after doing my research and I was looking at MKD stuff and confirming the fact that because there's a video out there, but it's hard to find. Good luck finding it, but I think I'm going to repost it, of the dog, the Patterson film, what happened that day, the violence. It was mass murder, basically what it was, genocide, in which that Patty was. They didn't just let that thing walk away, folks. They took it out, and they took not only it out, they took several other ones out. And there's an image of a hide of one of them, the blood, and the dog there. And there's footage of Patterson and Gimlin, of them being filmed by somebody else. And not only that, there's footage of them hanging out with people with high-power double-barrel shotguns. It was genocide is what it was.
Yeah, I have heard that theory, but I've never researched into that. But I have heard that before. Yeah,
it's not a theory, unfortunately. And here's another thing. Here's another thing that's I'm starting to realize too. Everyone thinks that it was filmed in 1967. That was filmed years before 1967. It came out in 1967. but it was filmed years before. And it's a really tragic story in which the Canadian and the American government are involved, and Hollywood's involved, and the lumber industry and big money, and they wanted that road going through that very sacred land. It was virgin land. It had never ever been pierced in before. There had never been any, and the indigenous population there. Oh, here's another thing people don't realize too. Not only the Sasquatch was taken out by violence, there was also Native Americans as well that were violently taken out as well. It was a terrible story, but you know what? They gave us a watered down version of it. So, and I want to talk about that, and I'm going to take it to the next level. For some reason, I mean, MK has even got the video and it's talked about it, and but for some reason, and Scott Carpenter talks about it, and was it Betty Starr? Is that her name? God, I don't want to say her name wrong. The Star. Anyways, I got a video of that too. It was, and they talk about it, and they know. I mean, it was tragic what they did. I mean, and they. So, anyways, that's something to think about. I want to talk about. So they kept me up till like 2 a.m, and so I can get some sleep. And at 6 a.m, what happened was something decided to shut my computer off and woke me up, and I'm like, oh man. And then it just kept, the computer just kept going on and off, on and off, on and off. And that's what woke me up. It just kept going on and off. And I'm like, shoot. And I tell you, every time I do any heavy research on the Patterson film, something serious things, bizarre things start happening, man. Okay, we'll see you, JT. Serious, bizarre things start happening, man. So you're not alone in it, and it seems to be a universal thing. So, but you know, so it's mind speak. And have you ever seen or heard any like voices, like loud noises, grunts, anything when you're out in the field? Do you ever see this? Sounds like something that's out there.
Yes, I've heard wood knocks.
You've
Mostly
heard
wood knocks. Yeah, wood knock. Quite a few times. And in the Pyrenees, during my last expedition, I got an audio of a long howl that I think I was watching one of the Small Town Monsters videos or documentaries that came up last night, and the Olympic Project, they had quite a few howls that were very long, like 16 seconds, 15 seconds. But the one that I got in the Pyrenees is 30 to 33 seconds. So it's possibly the longest owl in the world recorded. And it was surely done by a Sasquatch. That's no wolf. That's nothing that I know of. It's very similar to the ones.
One of the videos? Do you have it here on your YouTube channel?
Yeah. There's a video that the front cover, it's like a sonogram. Yeah, that one with the orange. Yeah, 32-second Bigfoot owl.
They can't
I don't
hear
know
the
at what minute it started, but yeah.
I can't play it by StreamYard because
okay.
So this clip out, so you won't normally hear. But
yeah, but you can hear it later. It's amazing. It's like a never-ending howl. It's a sustained. It's completely sustained from the throat, one note, completely flat note, during 30 seconds. It's half a minute. Half a minute. It's quite a long time when you are screaming. One note, one flat note.
No, you're absolutely right. Half a minute is a hell of a long time. That's amazing. So this is all in Portugal, people. I can't get over that.
In Spain. That one, it's in Spanish Pyrenees.
Spain. But it's right just next door to Portugal, Spain. So, yeah. So, but still, I mean, Spain. I mean, how close to the Portuguese border is it from this?
Spain or the Pyrenees?
Yeah, the Pyrenees. How close is that?
Yeah, the Pyrenees. You have to drive like if you get in your car in the morning, at night you are in the Pyrenees. So it's like 1,000 kilometers. I don't know how many miles.
600 miles.
Yeah. So it's 1 day voyage trip in your car.
Or well, for us it would be. I guess it would be because there's traffic and everything else. And yeah, but it's a good day's drive. That's for sure. So that's just to get to it, right? And then the Pyrenees Mountains is quite. How big is that mountain range? Do you have any idea?
Across, if you want to go across, it's not very wide, but it's very long. So it goes from the Atlantic to the Mediterranean, and it separates the Iberian Peninsula, which is Spain and Portugal, from France. So if you compare it with the Rocky Mountains in the US, it's small. It's very small.
Yeah.
But it's quite big, and there's a lot of area for them to be there. And I think it's one of the areas in Spain and France that they can be. I have a theory that in some places that are wild enough, they can stay for a few days in our side of the veil, so in our reality, and they have for sure caves underneath those mountains that support and that can live. So that's why it's a hot area for researching Sasquatch, the Pyrenees. The Alps probably in Swiss and Austria and Germany, but the Pyrenees, it's quite an amazing place. It's a very, very active area for Sasquatch, and it's very present in the mind of people there, in the indigenous people there, on those old villages.
That's fascinating, and it makes a lot of sense too. And I mean, listen, you don't even need to have mountains. You don't even. I live in a pretty developed area, and I've had encounters. I got images. If people, I mean, I would you like to see the last Sasquatch that I filmed? Or maybe if you watched the video, did you watch the video from the whole video? Then you probably saw the last one I filmed back in May of 15th.
No. I didn't saw it.
So I mean, that's not to brag. There's really nothing to brag because I didn't. It's not really me doing it, it's them doing it, right? So this is May 15th. This is just one of them. This is the last one I gave. This is the last time I went out field researching. This is about a mile and a half from where I'm sitting right now. There it is. That's the black. See the black image?
Yeah.
This is head. By the way, there's a small one on top of them. If you go take a good look at that, and so my point is that people think you have to go way out in the mountains. You need to have lots of virgin forest for these things to exist. They live around my area.
Yeah.
And there's, but I think
they can go into your home.
Right. I think that's what you're
because I've had mind speak in my home, so they can travel wherever they want in their conscious or spirit state that they have. But that's the only thing I can remember that can explain that. But they have mind speak to me and my wife Vera at our home, and that there were some hitchhikers strange things when we went from the Pyrenees, and when I returned them, that there was some strange stuff happening inside my home, that like things going on the shelves, put them down to the ground. Some strange sounds inside my home, some like ghostly things inside my home after that. So right. The phenomena, it's quite strange and quite broad. It's difficult to understand it, and it's most difficult to prove to other people that these things are happening, and to gather proof. It's very difficult. How do you prove something is paranormal? What is paranormal? You don't know anything about that. You still think that everything that sounds strange, it's ghosts. But
so I like what
it could be anything.
John Keel described him 60 years ago as paraphysical, ultra-dimensional, ultra-terrestrial. So his best way of trying to figure it out is that it just don't add up the way you want it to add up. Now, so what's famous, John Keel was famous because he had an interaction with a Yeti when he was out there, in the
Hmm.
Himalayas. He went to go look for the Yeti, and he had an interaction, not just one, but a couple of them. So, but he, uh, he was known in his day, but it's one of those things. These are the personal journey. If you're hoping to make a
Okay,
name, so but
I will
yeah,
research his name.
yeah, John A. Keel. And
Johnny
actually,
Keel. Okay.
yeah, and on my channel, I actually just read a couple of his books.
Let,
So it
let me
talks about,
write it here. So John A. Keel.
yes,
Okay, I
his books are
don't
worth getting. They're
forgot.
worth. He's famous for the Mothman. He's the one that did all the interviews and went all around Pennsylvania interviewing people
Hmm.
about the Mothman. He's the one that made Mothman famous. So, you know,
Yeah.
you've heard. I'm sure you've heard of the Mothman, right? So, I mean, if you,
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
yeah. So,
I try not to go into many cryptids. I have a special interest in Sasquatch, but I know the other cryptids. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's all it's you start to realize they're all kind of connected, right? I mean, it seems to be that way, especially when we start talking about the high strangeness and these interdimensional beings, right? They seem to have connections, right? We started out this show talking about UFOs and orbs and then
Yeah.
Sasquatch, then tree structures, and then you're talking about the trees, and then uh, it's all connected in some way that
In some
and
way. Yeah.
but we don't know. That's the thing. None of us really know. We get bits and pieces,
Yeah.
or there
I
are
guess in a
people.
few years, with the advancement of quantum physics and quantum physics being talked a lot more, you will know a lot more about, and you will be able to gather some of the points that are related between cryptids and physics and quantum physics, but because there's a lot of things happening, yeah, in plasma around laboratories. I know a lot of strange things that happens in laboratories, that people that or in people that are researching quantum physics. So that those things are in the future, are for sure being measured and will be explained in the future. I have completely, I have for sure.
Plus the technology, digital cameras and everything, and we're finally being able to film these things on a more consistent basis, and piercing the veil with the digital cameras, which and when Patty was filmed, of course, it was reels and bulky cameras and very and you needed to have it developed and everything. So we're now this digital age where people are filming them on the spot. I mean, you can film something and put it up online within an hour, with less than an hour at the moment, right? So
Yeah,
let's get to that point. So I and as people start to realize that we have to work together on this instead of being selfish about it. I know we get a little selfish about it. It's our little turf, it's our Sasquatch and all that. But my impression is they want to be revealed. They want us to know about it, right? And most people aren't going to accept it one way or another. But those of us who, I guess, are marked or chosen, will know. Look, and the synchronicity of it is so bizarre. I mean, I'm talking to a guy that's from the place of a gal that I was married to. The only place that basically I spent any time on the main continent was Lisboa, was in Almada, and that's what I mean, and places around Portugal and southern Spain in that area. But I didn't really spend any other time anywhere else. There's too much to see in Portugal to go anywhere else. You know what I mean? Why do you want to go anywhere else when you're in Portugal? That's what I thought. You might as well hang out in the Algarve. You know what I mean? So, and so here I am talking to a guy that's from that area, and the synchronicity is just shocking.
yeah,
I mean, it happens constantly. Once you're open up to this stuff,
for sure.
and it becomes quite magical, isn't it?
Yeah, there's something about that connection between some people. And we are all interconnected for sure, but some of these synchronicities, some of these connections have something into it for sure.
But it seems to me that there's those of us for some reason are motivated for whatever reasons to be interested in Sasquatch and all that revolves around it. You know, whether it's the UFOs, the orbs, all the other interdimensional beings, the elementals, and to you know, is it an ancestral thing? I don't know why was I chosen of all people? Why were you chosen? I mean, it's clearly that we were chosen in my book because there'd be a hell of a lot more people doing this if it wasn't the case. I mean, because well, first of all, it's not like it's like a passion that's driven into you, right? And then it's like a passion
Yeah.
that very few people really have. It doesn't mean that we're better than anybody else. Far from it. It just seems like they're just like, okay, that person's going to be the guy who's going to share a little bit of the story, you know what I mean, to the rest of the world for whatever reasons. And you just you throw up your arms in the air and say, I have no freaking idea what's going on except it's pointless to fight it. You know what I mean? You might as well go with it. You know, I mean, do you ever get the urges like you just got to get out there and do the field research? Do you ever get that? You know, that bug
Yeah.
itch? Did you just have to get out there? So when do you plan on going out next?
So in about a few weeks after New Year, I will go to the Pyrenees again, and I like to go there at least two times in the year. One about in January because of the snow. I like to go there with snow so I could track and find footprints. And but I cannot go into the mountains and climb up, so I stay in the valley. I do my research in the valleys, and during summer I go also there and do some research up in the mountains for a few more days.
Well, they say that your better chance to actually even have a sighting or find signs of Sasquatch is not up in the mountains; it's actually in the valleys. Now, I
Yeah.
got this from Ivan Sanders' book, "The Abominable Snowman," which I read and butchered it because I'm terrible with foreign languages. He was good with it, and he's throwing French and Spanish and Portuguese and all these other, you know, indigenous, you know, languages from Central and South America, and then on it goes. You know, the languages and um, in you know Indonesia and all the multiple languages there, and it's in Asia. But you might be good at that. It probably might you might enjoy it. You know, it's very technical in some ways. He's a zoologist and he documents all the different places that he has visited and some of the stories that he's encountered and some of his things he's discovered. And this book was written, and it's like it's got to be 1961 it was published. And so, well, how is that? That makes it 80 years ago? No, 60 years ago. So, I mean, it is like one of those books you should read. I think people should all read if you're interested in this. It's up there. The older books I'm discovering have so much wealth of knowledge, and it's like, how did it get lost? It's just like something like it just vanished, and it wasn't for the internet and us connecting again. People were just forgotten what guys were doing a half a century ago. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's truly bizarre.
That
So,
that knowledge is it's only in books, and people now want the very fast way of researching that is on the web. So they 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 don't want to read. People don't
well,
read
it's a
anymore.
combination. Right, that's the problem. I mean, and we do need to get back to that. I discovered that big time this year. I need to get back to reading, and so that's what I've been doing a lot. And I'm also working on my book, of my experiences, and so it's just like it's more than just a pastime for me. You know what I mean? It's like I've all of a sudden I'm living, eating, and breathing, and drinking it, and everything. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's just I can't think of anything more important than what we're doing. Honestly, I think that this is going to open the door to so much great, amazing things to happen in the future for us. If we stop, and the biggest thing that I want to try to encourage people: A, there's more than just Sasquatch out there in the forest, and B, not to be afraid of it, and see all the scary stories. It gets old. You know what I mean? It's not all terrible. I mean, I've had terrible experiences, but I realized they're experiences I needed to have happen in order to learn. You bring that up, by the way, in your lecture about, because you've had nothing but positive experiences.
Yeah.
So, and I imagine at some point you're going to have something negative too. It's all part of it's going to be perceived
I
negative.
hope not.
Scary, but it's part of it's like the dark night of the soul thing. It's a necessary part of the journey, right? Where it helps us grow and we face our fears, and so that's all it is. It's
Yeah,
basically based on
that's
ignorance
for
and all
sure.
that. You know what I mean? But it's like I'm still alive, you're still alive. It's not like nothing.
Yeah.
It's like they're not trying to hurt us. I think they're trying to communicate with us.
But
And
fear. Yeah. Sorry.
no,
You
you go
you
ahead.
touched the point that it's about fear. So fear can it's two different stories for two different people. Some people get a terrifying experience with just seeing a Sasquatch passing by, and some people need a lot more to get fear from that. And so that's really what stays in the mind of people are their fearful experiences a lot more than the good ones. That's why we think that the most fearsome stories are the most prevalent in Sasquatch. I don't think that's the case. I think that people just fear what they don't know, and Sasquatch, it's a fearful thing if you think about it that way. Just
Well,
the
I think
case.
there's a combination of things going on. I think there's a sinister side of this on the human side, trying to demonize these things and demonize the experience, right? And then there's the selfish side of things, where there are certain channels who are that's their bread and butter. That's their money. That's how they make the money, is by sharing the scary stories, right? Because people like scary stories. They like to be scared, right? They're more attracted to the scary stories
Much
than
more.
right, and that's a human nature thing, and so they take advantage of that. And then also, the listener, the passive, is that a
Yeah,
whose
that's the,
footprint
the
is that?
cast that I told you before. It's a 12 inch cast.
Okay. So, it's pretty cool that you found a nice footprint like that in that area. That's amazing. Um, yeah, so there's multiple things going on. I guess it all depends where you want to go with this. I don't want to exploit the situation. I just want to learn from it and understand my reality, right? I want to understand what I experienced. I want to understand what happened in 2017 and since then, I was standing next to a Crow Indian medicine man, and a Bigfoot crawled up a ravine. He got 15 feet in front of my face, and he wasn't by himself. There was two of them, but he's the one who got it. And here's the other thing, and you brought up in your Sasquatch 101 presentation about the connection of the trees and about them coming out of the trees. And I have seen that. I've seen them come out of the ground. I've seen them go through a tree. I've seen them come out of a tree, and I know that you
The
know
knocks are coming inside the trees. Most people think that they knock, and they probably knock, but I have stood just in a few
I'd
inches
say
from
the
a
same.
tree that was knocking, and the tree was knocking from the inside. So
Excellent. I totally agree. That's what I've been saying too. I can't believe
yeah,
that you just said that. I mean, there's a synchronicity. I mean, what are the odds that you and I didn't know fully about you. I know you didn't know anything about me. I can tell. And and the thing is, we have so much in common. And you actually just brought up something that's a fundamental truism, and the knocks are coming from within the trees.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it myself too. I
And
mean,
it could be from the roots, it could be from near you or from the top, but the knock, it's coming from inside. And I felt that many times with Vera by my side, and even the floor was being you call it shook. It was like a earthquake, you know. Every time they smash inside the tree, the floor went. How do you call it? It shook.
the ground shook.
Yes. The ground.
Vibration.
Yes. It vibrated. Yeah. Also.
Awesome. Well, I'll see if I can say your name right again. It's Hui.
Hui.
Hui. Hui.
Yeah, you have to roll the
I
R
feel
in the beginning.
synchronicity. I feel that you're a brother. There's what are the odds? I ended up talking to a guy that literally from the place I used to hang out all the time. And by the way, excellent food in Portugal and in Lisbon, and the seafood and the seafood markets. And God, I miss the sardines. You used to have these barbecue sardines, and they
Yeah,
just
with olive oil.
oh yeah, and escargot. Oh man, that's pretty good stuff too. Well, I don't know how you feel about it, but maybe it's all news for you. But
No, I love the snail thing.
hell yeah, man,
Escargot, yeah.
it's
We eat
excellent
them all, the
stuff.
smaller ones, the big ones. But we've learned that with the French, I think. It's not typical from Portugal. Now it is, but we brought
What's
that from France.
it's so weird is because it's the first time I've ever seen snails crawling on trees. Never in a million years, but I think you can just be a whole bunch of snails crawling on trees. So, but it tastes pretty good, man. And the people are good. Um, the, the Portuguese people are nice and friendly, but they're reserved. They're not. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not so for you because you know the people. I mean, at nighttime, it's like nothing's going on, and then all of a sudden at nighttime, because my sister-in-law had an apartment in the middle of in Lisboa, and I mean, in one of those side streets, you know, the ones with the trolleys and all that, and it's like everything's dead until it goes dark, and then all of a sudden it's like nothing but all you hear is people talking and partying, and it's like every night like that. It's like a siesta, at least when I was
Yeah,
there.
in
So,
Lisbon, yes, in downtown Lisbon, you can go to Bairro Alto. It's one of the places where the bars are, and it's all night long. Yeah.
well,
Now
I didn't even
we
go.
have a lot of tourism. We have a lot of tourism in the last years, so it got increased by a lot. But the downside of it is that when you have the increase of tourism, you get a decrease of quality on the products that you experience on the place. So now the restaurants are not so good, and the food you have to know that special place to eat that kind of food right. Because if you go to a tourist trap, you're gonna eat something
Yeah,
that's not good, or at least it's not the best. That's a
yeah.
problem of Lisbon today, but it was not a problem when you were here like a decade or more ago. Yeah.
Well, I didn't eat actually, and I never ate out at all. And actually, the Lisbon, it was always in Almada, and it was homemade meals every day. And it's like, I mean, I lost weight. I ate a ton, and I lost weight in Portugal because
Oh,
the first time in my life I was actually eating healthy. You have
yeah,
no
it's
choice,
Mediterranean diet, we call it.
right? So there's no choice. You're going to lose weight. You know what I mean? So, especially walking around, and then, just that's a great place. That's even after me drinking like a fish too. I turn up. There's another thing that happened to me in Portugal is I became an alcoholic. I literally did become an alcoholic, and I had to end up going to Alcoholics Anonymous and clean up my act because when I was in Portugal, because I was spent a long time there, right? Because I was married to a gal. So when you're married to a gal from Portugal, when you go to visit, you're not going for a weekend or a week. You're going for a month or two. You know what I mean? That's just how it is, right? And at least it was back then. And so what else was I going to do? Struggle with the language and hanging out with her father, and that's what we did. We were constantly drinking the aguardente and fire water and cerveja
Yeah,
and eating good food.
that's
So
hard stuff. Firewater.
Yeah, I know. That's how I became an alcoholic, was from that. So after that, I started coming back here. I started drinking Jack Daniels and all that, and I've had no problem with it. But you live and learn. So that is what it was. It was 20 years ago. So I don't have that problem anymore. Um, so, anyways, hey, listen, this has been an excellent time. I really appreciate. Probably should wrap up. Um, so this is, how big was this foot again? 12 feet, 12 inches. I mean,
That one is 12 inches. The other one that I didn't cast, it was about 15.
a 15. Oh, you got a 15 one you found as well. Okay.
Yeah,
How wide was?
that one I have it here in case you just wanted to see it here, but it's near
No,
my
sure.
hand.
We can look at it. Let's.
Yeah. Well, this side it's better. So you can see the big finger here. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Well, it's been a real pleasure, bro. And uh, I'm very impressed with you. I think you got a lot to share still to us, the quote unquote Bigfoot community and the researchers at large. I would love to hear more about your traditions from your area, from Portugal and Spain and France and that area, because we don't hear anything about you guys. We hear a little
Yeah.
bit from British Islands, but outside of that, we don't hear anything about you guys. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even know you guys were even doing it. So, and of course, in America, everyone, there's tons of us, right? There's hundreds of
Yeah, the
channels out there.
community is a lot more bigger. Yeah. And
So,
in Portugal, as far as I know, it's only me researching and saying anything about Sasquatch. I'm the only lunatic in Portugal thinking that they are here also. But there are quite more people in France and Germany. There are a few people that have acknowledged that and know what they are seeing.
so this is awesome,
So
bro. I want to do this real fast, so everyone sees once again his YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to it. I can't believe how it's just, and so many of the good channels. So many of the good channels don't even have like 500 subs. You only have 251 subscribers.
yeah,
So please subscribe to his channel. I know I don't have very many either, but I have, I might have my own reasons. So, for a reason. I used to have thousands of them one time, but this is a long story why I don't have it anymore. But that's not the topic today. So, and also you could find them on Facebook.
yes, I've also have a page on Facebook. Not very active, but I'm just there.
Well,
And I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. Mainly just sharing my voyage and in researching Sasquatch. To try to be a YouTuber in this area, it's very difficult, and people just want entertainment. And I'm not here to entertain anyone. I'm
uh,
just researching and putting out the data. So, and people sometimes don't want the data; they want entertainment. So that's about
hey
it.
Tammy, how's it going, Tammy? Um, yeah, Tammy has a YouTube channel as well. Um, so yeah, I'm a researcher. That's when I try to deal with researchers. Bernie, he's a researcher in alchemy who had experience with a thunderbird and a Sasquatch, and so I wanted him to come join me because of that, because he's got an open mind about things. You know what I mean? And I knew he would add to the equation. But for the most part, that's who I'm interested in too. Is not so much. I'm not interested in the scary stories. I'm not interested in reading a bunch of people's emails. I already know it's real, and I want to be around other people who know it's real and are doing their
Yeah.
own research and their own thing, so we can compare notes. Like today, I mean, this is important information. So those who missed this show, please go back, because we're going to be wrapping up here because we've been talking for almost 2 hours. Um, yeah, yeah, and so what I was going to say is I want to talk to researchers who are actually on the boots on the ground, who aren't just out there just trying to make a name for themselves. I don't have a problem if you have a YouTube channel and and you do want to have, say, a following and all that. But if the thing is, for me, it's just like you're saying, you're a researcher. We're trying to figure out the truth of this. We're trying to get to a greater and deeper understanding than this. It doesn't do you any good to listen to 1,000 stories. You know what I mean?
But I have done that in the beginning because I want to establish a pattern in all the stories and try to comprehend what was happening. But then I realized it was not adding anything more to what I was researching. So I'm not listening to it anymore.
No,
Even Steve Ishtal, his channel, I'm not into it, not anymore. It's always the same thing, the same thing. So I prefer to put my boots on the ground, my experiences, and let's see.
we have so much in common, bro. We have no idea. uh, just ask JT from Sasquatch Confessions. By the way, he's got a YouTube channel, but he's also quite active on TikTok. Do you have a TikTok channel as well, or anything like that?
No. But I know Sasquatch Confessionals. Yeah.
So I'm on his a lot too because he's on the same page as us. So and so we can relate. In fact, I just talked to Mike. I hung out with Mike Patterson, and
I saw your interview with Mike. I usually saw all his interviews, and I saw the one that you had with him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Very nice one.
We're talking. We had a really nice talk last week. I don't know if it was a weekend. Was it? Yeah, last weekend. And
a few days ago, yeah.
Me and Mike. Were you there on TikTok when we were talking?
On TikTok?
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch it live. I watched it after, like 2 days ago.
So me and Mike Patterson, this was on TikTok. We had a conversation with JT, and I'm probably going to have him back on my show because, the within a week of each other, he reveals the image of his Sasquatch when I filmed the one I did, and they look so much the same, and they confirm to each other. And the people are like saying, "Oh, it's just wax. It's just a plastic mask and all that." And I'm like, you guys don't have any understanding what's going on.
If it's blurred, it's because it's blurred. If it's too sharp, it's fake. So they don't decide what they want. I don't know. They have a preconception of what Sasquatch is, and it would be much more easier if Mike was faking it to put a mask like Patty, but people just can't relate.
Why would you think of all masks that mask and the fake one, right? You know what I mean? It makes absolutely no sense. But the greasy black pigment is just like what I'm filming with the adults in my area, where it's just kind of this black, kind of like greasy, oily type texture to the face. And I'm like, it happened the same time period. So I wanted us to get back on and talk about that and compare our images and talk about what's going on. And we're on the same page in so many things. So I think the next person I'm going to interview would be Mike. And I'm hoping, unless something, I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, we get along so well. So, and she said, I heard one here on YouTube from Maine was saying that visitors he believed to be Sasquatch or Bigfoot answered questions of folks who had in the area. Well, and if I did understand you correctly, that people do talk to Bigfoot. People, psychologically or psychically, and then there's actually Mike actually has conversations with them. I've had the samurai chatter in my, in fact, just in my backyard. Me and my neighbor are taking out the garbage, and she came at the same time with me. Doesn't know anything about Sasquatch, and she hears it along with me. So it happens. It just happens. And by the way, when I heard the samurai chatter, guess what? We both looked because she goes, "What was that?" And I said, "Well, it's booger." And just out of reflex, and then I said, "Oh, she doesn't know what that is." And I said, "It's Sasquatch. It's a Bigfoot." She goes, "What?" Because she heard it. So we went over to where it came from, and there was nothing there. As usual.
Yeah.
because that's how this works. And so it's really if you can't embrace that, then it's just like you could potentially go mad. So, but if you can embrace the fact that we're dealing with something that is ultra physical, ultra dimensional,
There's something strange into it for sure.
yeah, and it
And
doesn't. It
and I'm a guy from science. I do wildlife surveys for a living. I have my degree in wildlife in biology. It's not biology, but it's a course that it's almost the same in Portugal. So I work for impact assessment studies. So I do a lot of wildlife. So I work with wolves, with all the birds in Portugal. So I know a lot about nature, and I spend a lot of time in nature.
so you do
So
fauna, you do fauna and flora. Then are you a
yeah,
botanist
native
more?
fauna, mostly fauna than flora. I don't know a lot like with fauna about flora, but I do work with flora also, and bats and all of that things in wildlife. I'm a
Yeah.
tracker also. I track a lot of mammals, and I'm a science guy, but I'm realizing that with Sasquatch, it's at least in my country, I can expect that in British Columbia, in Canada, in the United States, they could be a species that it's not yet discovered, but it's not possible in Europe that a mammal with more than 400 pounds it's not discovered. It's completely impossible, and I don't know how can some people that hold a degree in biology still continue to say this, because it's impossible. If it
Well, the
has
calorie
not some
intake.
supernatural abilities to hide himself, it's not possible.
No.
They could make they should make a mistake somehow, and some of them should have been captured, could have been killed. But as you can see, Sasquatch don't do mistakes. They only have one big footage, the Patterson Gimli. So it's very strange. You don't. There's no mammal on this earth that you study that is so elusive. Completely impossible.
Well, yeah,
My opinion.
unless we're dealing with people, a type of people, and the reason
Yeah,
why they're
but people
hiding.
also do mistakes. People also do mistakes, even if you account that it's because they are very intelligent like us. Even if you get a guy like the Marines, and if you put him on the mountain, hiding from a team that is searching for him, someday you will do a mistake and you will get caught. And Sasquatch doesn't do that. It doesn't make any mistake. It's
Well,
impossible for any
I think
mammal
I think it's like you
to be
said in your.
living like a normal animal in this earth, and not having some kind of a supernatural ability that hides, that is being, that enables it to hide from us.
I think of it like this: the stories of angels in the Bible, right, are these beings that show up, like with Abraham that ate with Abraham and all that stuff. And I'm not a religious person, but I was once, so I know this book. And it's one of those things where they can come manifest in the flesh, be here, like you said, for a period of time in the flesh. During that time period, they actually can be taken out, because this has happened from people that are pretty credible. That this happened, but
It
then
probably happened. Yeah.
yeah, but it's very rare, and I don't like from my area. I can't see. I'm filming them. I've seen them. I have encounters, but I can't see how they could be, running around like a bear or a deer or anything like that. That they have to. I think they're like interdimensional. They come in and out, just like so
Yeah,
many other people. So many
it's
other
my
people
take on it. Yeah, also. Yeah.
and see this, and it's hard to accept. I have a high scientific background too in environmental science and management. I used to have my own business and greenscaping, which is just to work with developers and designing, you know, nature trails, wildflower meadows, working
Yeah.
with indigenous, plants, you know, bogs, that kind of stuff. And so, I
Hmm.
mean, I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore scientist or somebody that's totally dedicated to it. I left because of all the politics and went a different direction. But And thanks to 9/11 too, that screwed up everything as well. But um, yeah, I mean, it doesn't fit in a nice, neat package. And then once you can accept that, and then once I started realizing that, and then I started listening to the old timers, and they were saying the same thing. And a lot of them keep it quiet; they want to keep it to themselves. And that
Yeah.
the high strangeness, it's all connected. It's all connected.
Yeah.
And there's gonna, it doesn't mean there's not going to be a time that you, brother, are not going to have a sighting and something that looks extremely physical, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might, it could. In fact, I would put my money on it. That's going to happen if you're this serious about it. It's going to happen. If you're already having all the high strangeness and this mind speaking, then it's going to happen some way or another. The way they want it. And
Maybe not. Yeah. I don't have high expectations, or I try not to have them.
yeah, I understand what
But
you're
yeah.
saying, but so I say what, I'll reach out to you again in 6 months to a year and see what your progress is in your research.
Yeah.
If you're willing to, we'll
Let's
talk
see.
again. I think you've turned out really awesome. I don't know how you feel, but it's really positive. So, once again, Sasquatch Southwest Europe.
Southwest Europe.
Yes, and you could find his link to his stuff in the information box. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Obrigado. and
You're
and,
welcome. De nada.
and de nada. That's right. And adios.
Yeah.
And talk to you soon, my friend. So with that, we're going to end. What I'm going to do is probably end with some music, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. See you soon.
Absolutely, anytime. Really positive. I'm so glad it turned out positively. So with that, let's listen to some music. What are we going to listen to? I'm just going to
Thank you.